Hello YouTube, it's me Unicorn Guy here with Donkey Kong Country for Super Nintendo. Now, before I begin this review, I have to say that Super Nintendo is probably one of my favorite systems. I feel that it doesn't get enough, well, I guess recognition in the gaming community. I know it's an appreciated system, but I feel like, compared to NES, Famicom, like all the other systems that I could mention right now, Atari, etc. I feel that Super Nintendo gets kind of lost, and well, as you can see by my OC, Super Nintendo is one of the things I like the most. So let's jump right into it. I have to say that the graphical capabilities and the sound capabilities of Super Nintendo absolutely stunning for this time period, and actually still blow me away to this day. I haven't played this game in a while, so I'm a little bit rusty, as seen by my sort of flailing of the controls right now. I'm actually pretty good at just picking up games and, playing them again. I have to, of course, have the adjustment period of actually being able to, go back and play the game. But once I get the hang of things, I can actually play the game. Now, there's one thing I must admit. I am not very good at platformers. So, Mario, Donkey Kong, yeah, this Sonic the Hedgehog, I'm not good at those games at all, although I do enjoy to play them. There's one thing I never really quite worked out, which is the save feature. I think once you get to a certain point in the game, there is a save feature, as seen by those files earlier. I'm not sure how I actually got to 50% completion in this game. But somehow I did. By the way, the secret level music is absolutely one of my favorites, and I believe the Angry Video Game Nerd uses it in a lot of his segments. Super Nintendo just has this sort of feel around it, like I guess it's kind of like a nostalgic feeling, where I can kind of just sit back and just kind of go back to when, there was nothing really to worry about except sitting down and just playing one of your favorite games. Just being able to sit down and, like a Friday night, personally I was always a Nickelodeon kid, although I did like Cartoon Network. Not much of a Disney fan though, but it's a Friday night, you just got home from school, no homework for the weekend. Beautiful. Got yourself a nice pepperoni, and I guess pepperoni is probably the most kid-friendly thing, because I'm not sure how many kids eat sausage on their pizza. But anyway, nice big greasy pepperoni pizza, bottle of Mountain Dew or Coca-Cola, and you've got all weekend just to sit around, do nothing, play Super Nintendo, play any game you want. Just kind of enjoy yourself. You got the Friday night marathon, and then after Friday night marathon, you always got the Saturday morning stuff. Although Saturday nights, in my comparison, in my retrospective view of my childhood, I guess, weren't always the best of times, because I feel like Saturday night kind of more had the I don't know what you'd call it. I don't know. I guess when I was a kid, if it wasn't animated, it wasn't worth watching to me. So I guess you can call it more adult or something. I don't know. But anyway, so Saturday night was always kind of the night that kind of like was except with that one thing in Cartoon Network that they had. I think it was Toonami or something like that. And then they had something else after that. I can't remember what that was called. But and they'd have some animes and stuff like that, some different stuff. So yeah, stuff like that. That would probably be what I would watch on Saturday night. And then Sundays were always kind of just a day where you're coming back down from the weekend. You get an awesome day Friday and Saturday, and then Sunday's kind of like the day where you're just like, okay, this is that weekend's gonna end. So it's kind of like the just sort of, I guess, rounding off for the high point of the weekend or something. I don't know how to explain it. For me, I used to hate Sundays because it was just always such a boring day. Like, you know, you'd make your family make you go to church, and then you'd sit in church for 2 hours, being bored out of your mind, and then you go home, and basically that's it. And I mean, you really couldn't do as much stuff as I felt on a Sunday, and I still feel that way today, as you can on, say, perhaps a Saturday. Now, it'd be a totally different story if it was a holiday on Monday, because then Sunday sort of feels like another Saturday night, although there wasn't nearly as many good programs on a Sunday. I don't know why that always is, but it usually always is. As you can see by my performance in the last level, that platformers are not really my cup of tea, I should say. I myself prefer games like Zelda. Mega Man I'm actually okay at. It's not my best thing in the whole entire world, but I'm okay, so-so. The music, I just cannot get over the musical capabilities of the Super Nintendo. The graphical capabilities. You know, as I was recording this video, I was thinking to myself, gee, I mean, in the time, this probably wasn't, you know, too fantastic, but to think about a system that, at the time, potentially outdid most of your, you know, PCs, this is actually a pretty good, you know, system. For example, could we have 5 or 6 bananas or 5 or 6 spinning 3D objects on one screen, not to mention all the characters and whatnot, without the system kind of slowing down? Although Toy Story, I believe, was released in I think 96 actually, and that apparently was like, I think it was, I can't remember how many terabytes that movie was, but I think it was a couple terabytes actually. And that movie was very advanced for the time. So basically you'd have a computer that would have to do something close to Toy Story in order to, you know, run something like this. But although that's with all the computers I've worked with thus far, I'm not sure if there was just some system. Well, maybe the Amiga could handle it, because I remember that was supposed to be the most technologically advanced system. I feel that coding a game for a PC would probably be easier than a console, because with a console everything's sort of proprietary. But then with a PC, I mean, you can kind of know what you're getting into. And I guess maybe they're both the same, you know, difficulty, but only have but they have their different aspects of how hard it is to program. It just amazes me that the game doesn't lag or anything with all these objects on the screen. I'm actually still just in awe of the Super Nintendo, and I guess I don't want to make it sound like the Super Nintendo's the best thing since sliced bread, but I believe that this system probably doesn't get talked about as much as, say, other systems. For example, I hardly ever see any, you know, reviews for games for, well, I see a lot of reviews for, like, popular games for Super Nintendo and, like, cult classics, but I hardly ever see any, like, system reviews for Super Nintendo, and more often than not, the reviews I see for Super Nintendo are kind of like the cookie-cutter sort of review where they just talk about, oh, the big rivalry between Sega and Nintendo and their 16-bit gaming platforms. I myself would like to do a very comprehensive review of the Super Nintendo, but I'd have to talk about a lot of stuff, and more than likely it'd probably end up being like a 30-minute video, which I wouldn't mind doing. And actually, I think I have another Super Nintendo around here that the system itself doesn't work, so if I had a chance to tear a system down, I probably would end up doing that. Or maybe I could actually probably try to fix the system too in the video, so then You know, I have 3 Super Nintendos. Funny story that, when I was... The original reason why I have so many Nintendo systems is that I wanted to play every Legend of Zelda game for every system. So, NES, Legend of Zelda's 1 and 2. By the way, Zelda 1, it's an amazing game. I suggest if you haven't played it, go emulate it, go do something, go just play it. Just play it, you will not be sorry. Zelda 2, on the other hand, that, just take my word on it, it's incredibly difficult. And speaking of when you have the game and it's basically a one-shot game because the game save battery is done for in the cart, then yeah, it just becomes that much more difficult. Which, by the way, I think saving has to be done with the second controller. I think, I'm not sure. It's really weird how the saving system works in that game. But I wanted to play every Legend of Zelda game for every system. Now, of course, you know, CDI and stuff like that. So it sort of became what I thought was, you know, just gonna be a simple endeavor to sort of be, you know, this timely process, which I still have yet to complete today. In fact, my Wii broke on me, and then I just ended up selling to GameStop. Got a pretty good profit on it though, and I did not get a chance to play Skyward Sword. And I've been tempted to just watch some gameplay videos of it, but I don't feel that would be right. Messing around with the plane thing here, I don't think it's actually useful at this point, so I'm not sure what the guy did just turn you around right away when he was talking to you. But anyway, so that's what started it. So at the time, I had gotten an N64 first, then I'd gotten NES, and then Super Nintendo. So I looked on eBay, you know, trying to find the best sort of lot for the system, and I found this lot. This is honestly like the... Well, I wouldn't say this is the holy grail of quote-unquote lots on eBay, but this is quite possibly very close to it. So this guy, I don't know, I think he was from California, yeah. He had a lot of, I believe, 16 Super Nintendo games? I don't know. Basically, my whole entire library, minus one game, which is Link to the Past. I ended up having to buy that separately, but... So I saw this lot on eBay, and it was literally the dream lot. Imagine 2 Super Nintendos, 2 controllers, all the hookups for both Super Nintendos, and 16 games. So it was just quite possibly just, you know, the dream lot. This was the, I guess, quote-unquote mother load. And I don't think it was I think it may have been about just $60 too. I can't remember, but it was honestly the dream lot, and I will remember that lot of Super Nintendo games for like my life. Actually, I'm not sure if it was 16 or not. I may be confusing that with another ad I saw on Craigslist. Not Craigslist, eBay I saw recently, and I was actually really considering it. But it basically had every game that I wanted to play for Super Nintendo, a couple of obscure ones, and then, I mean, it was honestly the perfect just lot on eBay. I also got Virtual Boy, but that ended up breaking, and I just ended up putting it in storage, and I have not yet to get it out. Or did I put it in storage? I honestly don't remember what happens to things around here. But anyway, it's somewhere, so I might, since the system is notoriously, or known for the optical, not optical eyepieces, but the optics in there for the grading over time, I may have to pick up one of those from a collector, and that will be costly, I know, because, well actually, now that I think about it, everybody on eBay sort of thinks that they have gold. I remember seeing a Virtual Boy go for like, I think, 150 or $200, just for the base unit alone, not the stand or anything, just the unit itself. I mean, that's great if you knew it worked, and you can guarantee this thing for 3 months or something. It's just that I like to collect things, but I'm realistic about the things I collect. I know that, you know, there's easily, you're gonna find this at a garage sale for like $5. So I'm not gonna try to gouge you for your money. I'm just gonna say, you know what? I know you can get this somewhere a lot cheaper than this, but I'm gonna give you the fairest price here. Well, that's if I sold anything. Well, actually, I did end up selling 2 computers, but that was literally a PowerBook G4 and a 2004 Dell Latitude, so, and that was $200 altogether. So I mean, that is pretty good actually, considering how you know, people with obsolete Apple things, not to the point where it's obsolete where it's vintage, to the point where it's obsolete as in, okay, this is kind of, you know, sort of quote-unquote fringe system where it's kind of like how the GameCube is, where it's not really old enough to be called vintage, but it's old enough to be called obsolete, and it's sort of just on the fringe of, I guess, systems. Now, Wii is still, you know, very new, and so is Wii U, so I can't really say anything about those. I actually lost my train of thought where I was going with that, but I believe I was going to say that, you know, I'm going to be obsolete with you. I mean, I'm going to be obsolete with you. Yes, I am very obsolete, but I'm going to be realistic with you, as in to say that this is what I think it's worth. You know, I'm going to give you a fair price. Like, if you ask me to sell if you ask me to price my Super Nintendo, I'd honestly say, like, the whole entire collection itself, probably about $60-70. I say that's I say it's probably fair. Or if you ask me to resell that, basically the lot on eBay that I got is basically everything that I got. That's basically my Super Nintendo collection. I would say, yeah, about $60-70. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna ask for you. Now, a hardcore collector, well, I mean, of course, a hardcore collector. I'm not the hardest core collector, but I'm probably, you know, a little bit more hardcore than your just casual gamer. As in collector ranks, I would say I'm getting there. But this system is honestly one of my favorites, and I'd be hard pressed to get to part with it, as well as any other system I have. And there's the game, basically. I think you can save past that banana tower thing, but other than that, I don't really know how. Well, I can't remember. I should say I can't remember how far I can get into the game before you get to a point where you can save. I know things sort of pick up after the banana tower thing. I think that's when you find out, like, what the whole game is about, like the enemy and stuff like that. So there it is, Donkey Kong Country for Super Nintendo, and thanks for watching.